Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Once again, delighted to be joined by Lou DiBella for the latest edition of DiBella's Digest. And Lou, as is customary, after you've quenched your thirst, let us know how your week has been.
You know, Dan, my week has been absolute shit, but I'm going to leave it at that. I've had a shitty week, but, you know, I'm still sitting here. I'm still alive. I'm breathing. You know, I'm not, you have good weeks and you have bad. I've had a pretty good, prior to this week, a decent streak of good weeks. And this just happened to be a bad one, but it is what it is.
Well, someone for whom it has been a pretty good week, or I guess they're all good weeks when you're Floyd Mayweather and you're a multi-millionaire. But he got past Logan Paul as we expected to in their exhibition match. He didn't stop him as we both thought he would, but you know, was he carrying him? There's a bit of a debate there,
well, I mean, literally, there's a clip. Did you see the clip from the fight?
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he did carry him. I mean, he stopped Logan Paul from hitting the ground at one point in the fight. Look, the one thing we were wrong, because I was wrong. I went out there on social media and said, "I bet you can bet your bottom dollar Floyd's going to stop this guy." But the one part I always look, they shouldn't even allow gambling on exhibitions. It should not be allowed legally, honestly, because the reality was there was no. Floyd could have ended that anytime he wanted, in my view. Yeah. Like the one thing we were right about, Danny, I think we both said it last week, was what's going to happen in the exhibition is whatever Floyd Mayweather wants to happen in the exhibition, and that's what happened in the exhibition. And I didn't wind up watching it. I mean, live at least. I didn't wind up watching it, but like I always believe, if people want to spend their money on that kind of nonsense, it's their prerogative, right? I mean, it's a free marketplace, and whatever floats your boat, you know. But like, I'll give you an example of how crazy things are. There's going to be a fight. I think it's either tonight or tomorrow night between Lamar Odom, the former Kardashian husband and former NBA player, who literally has had 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks. That's fact. He's had 12 strokes and 6 heart attacks. And he's fighting a guy, Aaron Carter, Nick Carter's brother. I don't even know who Nick Carter is personally, but Nick Carter's brother.
Boys? Is it Nick
the Backstreet Boys guy, yes. He's fighting Aaron Carter, who he outweighs by 60 pounds. In a celebrity boxing match. Now, I'm tolerant of this kind of thing, but that's just a clown fuck. That's a clown fuck.
There's the headline.
And it's dangerous. It's barbaric. You know, it's a little scary that a state commission or over some kind of oversight body wouldn't stop that kind of shit from happening. Like, is someone going to die in one of these things or be permanently, disabled before there's some rhyme or reason? You know, I had no fear about the Logan Paul, Floyd Mayweather kind of situation. You know, I don't really think there were health and safety implications to that, despite the weight difference. I mean, the weight was in favor of the guy that had zero chance. Yeah. You know what I mean? But a man that was a former pro athlete that's had horrible health history and all sorts of addiction problems and getting into the ring with another guy who's a hot mess. I mean, there's got to be limits to this at some point. And there's got to be some type of regulation of this at some point.
I agree. I mean, when you've got a Floyd Mayweather in there, you can kind of trust him to take care of his opponent in a way. I know I'm not alleging it's fixed or anything like that, but you can rely on him to either get him out of there quickly or carry him the distance. He's not going to unnecessarily hurt an inexperienced opponent. When you've got two guys who don't know what they're doing, that's the most dangerous. That's
where it gets really dangerous. And you're 100% right. I'm not alleging any kind of fix or whatever, but Floyd could have done whatever he wanted in there, and he did. Now, if you don't think Floyd could have thrown a double jab and followed it up with a liver shot and ended that fucking thing anytime he wanted, I think you don't understand boxing very well. Because, I mean, the other thing that does amaze me when these things happen, though, is like afterward, the number of people that were raving about Logan Paul's performance, and as if this was some kind of a legitimate fight. Hey, they called it an exhibition for a reason. And in fairness to Floyd, as we were complimenting, at least I was complimenting last week about this, he made it very clear that the thing was sort of a goof. Come on. I mean, this guy can't beat me. Come on. I don't know. It was what it was. And it did a lot of business, though. And that says something. I mean, it's still, by all accounts, 1 million people bought it. There's not a legitimate boxing pay-per-view that's happened in years that 1 million people have bought, like in a while. So, it is what it is.
Looking a bit further ahead, I think it's Wednesday in Los Angeles. There's going to be the press conference for Tyson Fury's third fight with Deontay Wilder. I think it's July 26th, the fight. What do you make of that and the changes that Wilder's made since the last fight, predominantly with the trainer bringing in Malik Scott instead, who was already part of the camp but is now the head trainer?
I'm not going to view it as being so significant. It looks like Deontay's working very hard. I mean, from what I'm seeing and hearing, but Malik was in the picture before. I think Malik knows boxing. I think he's a decent trainer, but I think that Mark Breland was a decent trainer in new boxing, and I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make. I think that Deontay will be hungrier. I think Deontay will be better prepared. I think there'll be less distraction and nonsense, and I expect a better showing from him. But it's hard to pick him. I'm not picking him. However, is it a dangerous fight for Tyson Fury? Hell yeah. You're fighting. Look, the people that are calling Deontay the greatest puncher in history are forgetting about a lot of people. And I'll go to the top of the list of the people they're forgetting, the great Joe Louis. But certainly in boxing today, Deontay still remains the biggest puncher. So there's always a danger fighting an explosive puncher. So this fight is not without significant risk for Fury. And look, now, I think Tyson's head is in a good place. I think he's been a healthy guy for a while, but he's not a hungry guy the way he used to be. I mean, he's got more money than God at the moment. You know what I'm saying? He's loaded, and his family is set, and his kids are set. He's buying houses in Vegas, and then he's got is he vulnerable a little bit? Well, you're always vulnerable when you fight a puncher, and when you're super comfortable, it's going to be interesting. Does he have the same degree of hunger he had? I think this will be a hungry Deontay Wilder, but frankly, if Tyson's boxing skills allow him to dominate the way he has against Wilder previously, Wilder will always have that puncher's chance, but I don't see Wilder having a route to winning by decision.
Is Fury more vulnerable against Wilder specifically just because of how comprehensively he beat him last time? Could he be a bit complacent?
Yes. Whenever you beat the living shit out of somebody, and there's a mandated rematch, but he beat him from pillar to post in the last fight. I mean, it was just a completely dominated, ass whooping. So, I mean, is he gonna, but that being said, there is another element to it. He knows how close he was to being knocked out in the first fight.
Yeah.
So I'm giving Tyson the credit to believe that he still knows he's in with a very dangerous customer. But it's hard not to be a little bit complacent when you so dominate your opponent previously. And here's another one. Wilder hasn't done anything in between either. He hasn't had another fight since. So the last memory of Deontay Wilder in a ring was being brutalized by Tyson Fury. So, I mean, the advantages obviously are Fury's across the board. But the advantage in punching power, you still have to probably say is Deontay Wilder's, even though in the last fight that wasn't so clear.
Two upcoming world heavyweight title fights. if you had to bet your last dollar on one of the challengers, Usyk for Joshua and Wilder for Fury, which would it be?
That's a very good question.
Thanks, Lou. I do about one a year.
No, you throw them out more often than that. I don't think either underdog's going to win.
No, me neither.
But I can see Usyk outboxing Joshua right now more likely than Deontay knocking out Fury. So if you made me bet on one of them, I would bet on Usyk.
Good.
How about you? How would you answer the same question?
I'd probably bet on Usyk. I think Usyk's, a very live underdog in that fight. I just think his natural size, natural strength is against him. I think that's the issue. But
look, Joshua's a big, strong guy.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's been fighting smarter since that loss to Ruiz. And Usyk was an incredibly superior boxing talent to was it Derek he fought the last fight? Chisora?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, his boxing ability was a whole different level than Chisora's, but Chisora gave him hell. Okay. Neither one of us would pick Chisora against Joshua.
No.
or not even having a chance. So, you got to favor Joshua in that fight. But, I would pick Usyk if I had to bet my fortune on one of them.
Brilliant. Well, Lou, I'm sorry you've had a bad week for whatever reason, but I hope the coming week brings you more prosperity, and we'll talk about that in a week's time.
Thank you, my friend. Be well.
And you. Take care, Lou.